OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. I'm not going to waste any time with too long of an introduction, but I just want to say before we start the show and before we start the review, thank you guys so much for all of the support we've been seeing on the channel as of late. It does not go unnoticed. So if you really like these videos and you love our reviews and our podcasts, make sure you go ahead and show us some love and support by liking the videos and subscribing to the channel down below. We would love for you to be a part of the Outcasted family. This week's episode of Monday Night Raw is the Raw after Money in the Bank, so we start off the show by seeing a recap of Money in the Bank 2024. Now we got to see a little preview of a lot of the matches that we saw, and we get a few of these sprinkled in throughout the nights. We see Damian Priest is backstage, and Pat McAfee is finally back on commentary. I don't actually know the reason as to why he wasn't on commentary in the first place. I believe he must have had a family emergency or something like that, so I'm so happy that he is back. We start off the show with CM Punk making his entrance. He makes his way out to the ring and he talks about how it's been a long time since he's been here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and he says it's great to be alive. He says he's got a lot to get off his chest, but firstly, he wants to thank John Cena on his retirement and says that he would like to lace up his boots one more time with Cena before he eventually retires. He said that there's another person that's not here, and that's Drew McIntyre. He's actually been suspended by Adam Pearce, and he's lined up for that camera footage to be shown of Drew McIntyre had attacked or started making a scene on the Money in the Bank post show alongside Wade Barrett, Big E, and Jackie Redmond, where Adam Pearce came out and started to try and break it up, but then Wade was pretty much like, if you lay one more hand on one more person, that's your job gone. So CM Punk says he's come back to get his hands on Drew. Punk follows on by saying that there are consequences for your actions and that he is the consequence for your stupid actions. He said that you shouldn't be shocked when the fight is brought back by CM Punk. And he said you blew your opportunity at Clash at the Castle in your hometown in front of your home people, and you also blew your opportunity at Money in the Bank. He said as long as there is air in my lungs, you will not be champion. I'm here to get my hands on Drew, and I was fined a little bit of money as well too, but that was money well spent. I want my hands on him. Adam, please lift the suspension. And we hear Seth Rollins' music hit, and I'm like, interesting, because we obviously got to see a little moment between the two of them after the match. So Rollins comes out and he looks really angry, and CM Punk's actually sitting on the commentary table. So before they end up having their very tense interaction, Rollins goes ahead and is like, oh, so now you finally want to sit on the sidelines? Why don't you come in the ring, Mr. Center of Attention? Which, actually, that's Tiffany Stratton. She's the center of the universe, but that's totally fine. CM Punk says, you want to watch what you say? Seth Rollins responds to this by saying, I'm going to disrespect the best in the world? No, I wouldn't dare. He said that you did the one thing that I said not to do, and that was to stick your nose in my business, and if it wasn't for you, I would have been the world heavyweight champion. And Punk goes on to say, I was just handling my business, and this is very personal for me. You should understand, you're a husband and a dad to Rue. And he says that there's a man running around with my family's name on the bracelet. And he basically said, somehow it's got screwed up for you, and I know this is a pipeline dream for you to become the world champion. And he said, I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't mean to screw it up, I'm just incredibly snowblind with rage, and but when it comes to you, Rollins, I can't actually be sorry. And Rollins is like, you are gaslighting. He said, you never sincerely apologize for anything. You are sly, crafty, and you're the king of propaganda. You're the dumbest smart dude that I have ever met, and it's funny because the world doesn't actually revolve around you. And, I was willing to let this slide with everything that you have done until Saturday, and if it wasn't for you, I would be the world heavyweight champion right now. It's not a pipe dream. It's the most important thing in this business. And when it comes to have to be my turn to take something from you, it won't happen on my watch, but when you are 100% and you are cleared, I'm going to snap your arm and put you back on the shelf, because guess what, dude? Actions have consequences. And it ended there, and I was like, interesting. I like where this is going. So it's very much showing me that there could be some Rollins involvement at SummerSlam. I don't really know if that match is actually happening between CM Punk and Drew. I don't know. Up for speculation, but I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed that this is not only planting the seeds for SummerSlam, but it's also planting the seeds for other matches in the future, like the one we were supposed to get at WrestleMania 40. But hey, I'm not holding a grudge against that. I'm totally holding a grudge against that. Adam Pearce is backstage and he is talking with Dominic Mysterio. He's like, look, I have been dealing with Drew McIntyre. What is it that you want? And Dom's like, I don't want to tag with Liv Morgan tonight. I'm not happy about it. I don't want the match. Adam Pearce is like, the match is happening. It's final. You're going to have to live with it. And Liv Morgan comes in and she's like, look, the match, I decided to make it happen because I felt so bad about what happened last week. Maybe we should get some strategy together and see how we can win. And I'm like, our first match of the night. Now, this was a short match. It was Jey Uso and Chad Gable. Now, they are both kind of sporting injuries from Money in the Bank. Both of them had like really bad taped up ribs. There's a lot of groundwork at the beginning of this match. Chad Gable is actually in control at the beginning of the match. He has a really nice takedown, and then he does a belly to back takedown as well too. Jey Uso dives and he hits a really nice hip toss as well, and then we have a commercial break. But when we get back, Jey hits Chad with some blows, and there's a really nice crossbody lateral press coming in from Jey Uso. He goes high, and then Chad ends up stopping him. The lights go out. Chad gets distracted. Jey capitalizes by hitting a Uso spear to secure the win. He quickly gets out, and then there's a moment where the lights go out after the match. Obviously, Bray's music starts. I'm assuming that's the music for the Wyatt 6 as well. Chad escapes, and then there's another package that's dropped off at the commentary table, and Pat's like, oh, I get a package. It's like, Michael's like, yeah, these have been getting dropped off for the last couple of weeks with your name on it as well too, so... and it's quite funny because Sheamus and Jackie Redmond are actually watching this backstage, and they're both like, oh, what's going on there? And Jackie Redmond follows on by saying that obviously it's 15 years since Sheamus started in the WWE, and she's trying to pry out of him what is next for the Celtic Warrior. And he starts talking, and then Bronson comes in, and then he's like, well, we shouldn't really be talking about you. We need to be talking about me because I am the future. And Sheamus, you're stuck in the past. And Sheamus is like, well, I'll fight you tonight, right here, right now. And Bronson's like, I can't fight you because I'm fighting your buddy Pete Dunne tonight, but I'll fight you anytime. And then we end up seeing that the VHS tape has been dropped off to commentary, and someone has come and picked it up. So I'm assuming it'll get put on the monitor at some stage. We go into our next match, which is Bronson Reed taking on Pete Dunne. Now we find out from commentary that Tyler Bate is actually injured, which means that Pete Dunne is just going to be wrestling by himself for a little bit. I'm not complaining about that because his incredible skill was on display tonight. I'm so happy that we got this match. So Bronson Reed is in charge at the beginning of the match. We see some real clubbing blows to Pete, and then Pete hits a really nice armbar, and he's dominating the match. But when we come back from commercial, Bronson is back on top, and he hits a really nice clothesline. Pete Dunne hits a super awesome step up enziguri, and we see a running sit out powerbomb from Bronson Reed. Bronson tries to go high, but Pete ends up meeting him there, and then we have a tsunami coming in from Bronson Reed, so he secures the win. Sheamus comes out and he begins brawling with Bronson, and then there's a moment where he tries to celebrate with Pete Dunne, but Pete Dunne pushes him away and he just walks off. And it's really confusing because Michael Cole references on commentary that I think Sheamus stepped away from the Brawling Brutes, so maybe there's a little bit of harbored resentment from that. I don't know, but I'd love to see Pete Dunne and Sheamus just in a singles feud. I mean, if Tyler Bates busy, recovering from an injury, why not capitalize off that? Sami Zayn, Braun Strowman, R-Truth, and The Miz are all backstage, and then there's a moment where Damian Priest is talking to the Judgment Day, and Seth Rollins comes in, and he's like, hey, can I have a moment of your time? And then Damian sends the Judgment Day away. And Seth Rollins starts off by saying, it's better to be lucky than good, and on Saturday, you were lucky and you were good. You kept your word because you didn't have the boys get involved. I'm going to keep mine. I'm not going to come for that title. You keep it, but you have to be better when it comes to SummerSlam. And Damian's like, look, I really appreciate that, but we're going to throw this argument, or this agreement, I should say, out the window when it comes to the gentleman's agreement that we had. And Damian Priest goes to tell Seth Rollins when he's done with Gunther at SummerSlam, you name the time and the place for a rematch and we will make it happen. So Seth Rollins then walks away. The camera then turns and Damian Priest gets a phone call, and he doesn't say who it is or anything. He kind of just takes the phone call, and then we end up heading back to the ring for a promo. Sets up something pretty awesome, I'm just saying that. Sami Zayn has come out to the ring to cut a promo in front of the crowd, and he talks about how it's an honor to be here not only in Canada, but now it's an honor to be here still as your Intercontinental Champion. He said Braun bought everything that I thought he would, but people keep thinking that I'm an underdog. I'm not an underdog anymore. I am a champion. And I have been putting in top level performances, and obviously the respect that Braun didn't bring, he didn't bring anything. And it's another thing to try and keep me down, but it's another thing to just continue to question how good I am. Braun Breaker comes out. He quite literally just didn't do anything. He came out. He just walked out to the ring. He stared at Sami, and Sami's like, are you going to say anything? Is there a reason you've come out and interrupted my segment? He looks completely stone-faced. He passes the microphone to Bron. Bron starts chatting to him, and then there's a moment where it looks like he's walking away. And then he literally just goes and like starts mauling the crap out of Sami Zayn. And then there's a moment where they're just getting into a full-blown brawl, and they're outside of the ring, and then we see Bron Breakker do the thing where he runs around the ring and he just runs right through Sami. And then obviously medical and security come out and everything, and then Ilya Dragunov comes out to check in on Sami Zayn. Then we're back in medical after the commercial break, and Adam Pearce is there with Ilya and Sami, and Adam's like trying to figure out how Sami's doing, and Ilya's like, look, I really just need to get my hands on Bron Breakker tonight, so we have another match between them. When I say them, I mean Bron Breakker and Ilya Dragunov happening later on towards the main event. We had a little bit more time backstage before we make our way back out to the ring, so I'm briefly just going to go through what we saw. We saw the John Cena Money in the Bank retirement promo. I'm not going to talk about it. I didn't want to watch it again because I bawled my eyes out again. I spoke about this in the Money in the Bank review, so I'm not going to touch on it as much as I did then. Adam Pearce is talking to CM Punk backstage, and he basically just says that he is going to get on the phone with Drew McIntyre and see if he is in a fit state to do business, but he said, I need you to stay home. I need you to go ahead and recover, heal up, go pet your dog. I just need you to make sure that you are going to be fine, and I will deal with Drew McIntyre next week. We see Zelina and Ray are warming up now. They have a mixed tag match with Liv and Dom in the main event. And then we also end up seeing Liv and Dom. And so Liv is basically trying to come on to Dom. Dom's like, I didn't want this match. And then Liv's basically trying to go ahead and say that she wants to practice double team moves, which I'm like, can you just stop? She tries to stretch out Dom Mysterio. And then the Judgment Day ends up catching these two in the act because it looks like something else is going on. And then Damian's like, what is going on? Like, I honestly thought you were going to be done with this. You need to be done with this. It's not that hard. And Dom's like, I'm going to work on it. I'll get it sorted. I'll fix it tonight. And then the Judgment Day say to Damian, oh, there was something that you were going to tell us. And then Damian goes ahead and says, well, I'm just going to wait. Dom's going to find out on his own. And I'm like, I think we know what we're setting up here. But then we have the match, which is a 6-man tag. So we have the Judgment Day, obviously Finn, JD, and Carlito going up against Braun, Truth, and Miz. This, honestly, was just... It was a joke of a match, if I'm being honest. We just got to see the baby faces just pull out a whole bunch of John Cena moves. Braun got a little bit of time to kind of show his strength and hit the Strowman Express, as he does. Judgment Day looked great. Finn capitalized at the end and secured the win for the Judgment Day, which was great. Didn't really do much for me, but that's totally fine. Wyatt 6 video is up, and it starts with us seeing Bo Dallas. Now, Bo Dallas, you can hear the voice of Uncle Howdy in the background, but we don't see Uncle Howdy for the first part of the video. So we hear Uncle Howdy's voice in the background basically saying, tell me more about your family. And Bo goes on to say, those are the ones that nobody wanted, the discarded, the forgotten. I've given them a purpose. I'm so happy that you remembered them because being a glutton for punishment doesn't make abandonment hurt less. He goes on to say that they were begging for a purpose as the buzzards circle. He said there's been loss, there's been too much loss, but grief is the price that we pay for love. Now, we must set the captives free because they need no master. He said, do you think we're sick? And then he goes ahead and says, then sick is what we will be. And during this entire monologue, we get to see flashes of the different members of the Wyatt Six. So we get to see Mercy the Buzzard, we get to see Rambling Rabbit, we get to obviously see what we'd assume is Sister Abigail, we get to see Joe Gacy's character, we get to see Bo, we get to see Uncle Howdy, so we get to see a lot more visual representation of the members of the Wyatt Six, which up until this point, we've only really seen what I assume is Sister Abigail dropping off the packages to the commentary table, Bo and Uncle Howdy. We obviously saw what happened with the massacre, but we haven't seen the other characters up until this point, so this was quite cool. Adam Pearce is interrupted. He's trying to walk into his office, and he's interrupted by Chad, and he goes, I've got so many questions. Did you not see that video that the Wyatt Six just dropped? They're talking about me, and you're not doing anything about this. And then Adam Pearce goes ahead and says, well, no wonder they're after you. And then there's a moment where Chad's like, you need to find out what's going on. I deserve a vacation after this. He opens up his office door, and Bo Dallas is sitting in the office, and Adam's like, okay, shuts the door with him on the other side. So I don't know what's happening, but it was quite cool to see, actually. What was also really cool to see was a Damage Control video package. Now, we got to see Io and Kairi speaking in Japanese during this, which I think adds a lot more emphasis when someone gets to speak in their mother tongue, but it just makes the promo that much cooler. So they basically go on to talk about how Damage Control has lost control and they need to change. Dakota says that there has been a lot of disrespect towards the faction and we are world-class talents that shouldn't be pushed to the side. Tonight, the changes happen. Tonight, we get to show everybody what Damage Control is all about. Change brings destruction, and what we basically are going to do tonight is we're going to go ahead and clip Lyra's wings and we're going to dance over Kayden and Katana, and tonight we take back control. We head back to the ring where we have the match between Ilya Dragunov and Bron Breakker. I'm not going to lie to you, I feel as though I've spoken about this match maybe 4 times because I feel like since they've both come up from NXT, we've had this match at least 4 times. Bron's power was on display. He had a really nice release German suplex to start the match, and then Ilya hits his own German suplex, but he doesn't release, and then Bron ends up sending Dragunov down. Bron's power, as I mentioned before, is on display, and when we come back from a commercial break, Bron hits a really nice spine buster onto Ilya, and Ilya's doing his best to chop down Bron, and we see a running knee coming in to Bron Breakker from Ilya Dragunov. Ilya's in control. He hits a power slam and a senton, but then Breakker ends up exploding out of the corner and hits a really nice gorilla press. He ends up running around the ring and kicks Ilya Dragunov. Now, there's a moment where Ilya's leg starts bleeding. I believe he gashed it open. Bron Breakker takes it one step too far and actually throws a chair at Ilya, which causes a disqualification. Then Sami comes out to the defense of Ilya Dragunov and he tries to attack Bron, but then Bron ends up sending Sami into the ring post and the announce table, and then Ilya and Breakker are just still fighting it out. Damian Priest hits a promo backstage and he talks about at Money in the Bank he did not ask for the help of Drew McIntyre or CM Punk. He said, what champion has not had some form of controversy within their title reign? He said, I'm the World Heavyweight Champion. I go to war and I come out after the war. He talks about how the future is Gunther with him at SummerSlam, and he says that he's looking forward to it. And the challenge is to himself and to his greatness. And says that Gunther, needs to show up to my show and you can rise for El Campeon. Then we got to see the Pat Estrada come out, which basically Pat McAfee was going into detail about the Liv and Dom stretch session, which it sounds like an opening scene for something you would find on the internet that I'm not going to say. That's why I really don't like this entire Judgment Day storyline, because I just feel like you've taken something that I love, which is the Judgment Day, and you've made it like X-rated, and I don't like that. I just want to see people wrestle. I don't want to see people doing all that stuff. I don't know, it's weird. We saw a Final Testament promo. Now, Karrion was basically talking about how he's hospitalized Kofi Kingston, and he was going to do the same to Xavier Woods, and basically just talks about how the New Day is dead and how the Final Testament is relevant. That's cool, I guess. I'm just keen to see where it goes. I didn't write any notes for this match because we saw Damage Control taking on Kayden, Carter, Katana Chance, and Lyra Valkyria. I've spoken about these teams ad nauseum, so like I say, I don't think it's necessary to mention anything of note. Damage Control did look really great in this match. They worked really well, and they secured the win just before Zoe, Shayna, and Sonya, so all 3 of them, come out and start attacking everybody, which I was like, last time I checked, you guys weren't even on the same page. Like, okay. And then Kathy Kelly is catching up with Zelina and Ray before the match, and I was like asking what's going on. And then Zelina said that she would have been champion if it wasn't for Dom coming and interrupting. And she says that he's going to be a hot mess when we're done, and we're going to put an end to that story. And then Jackie ends up asking Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe, oh my god, say that 5 times fast, about the attack, when strategically Chad Gable is chatting to the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile backstage. Anyway, they basically go on to say that they've sent a message to the entire locker room about who runs the division, and that Sonya has helped both Shayna and Zoe find their full potential and see their full potential. Damage Control is what happens when you think that you run the division, and it's a warning shot to the entire division. And then Alba and Isla come in and they start talking about how it's their division, and I believe they've probably set up a match for another point in time. But I like that they showed the champions. I like that they have another group of women that is maybe rivaling Damage Control. I'm not too sure. I feel like we've seen Zoe and Shayna and Damage Control so many times before. I don't know. But then Gunther cut a really awesome promo talking about how he's obviously one king of the ring and how he was the longest intercontinental champion of all time. Talks about his NXT UK legacy that he has, and he said that WWE basically called him. He doesn't need WWE. And I really enjoyed this promo. It shows a lot of footage from him back in NXT UK. So if you're a fan of that, I feel like you'll really like this promo. I'm super excited for Gunther when it comes to SummerSlam, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him become the World Heavyweight Champion. We have the main event, which is Liv and Dom taking on Zelina and Ray. Now, I am quickly just going to go through what happened because I just think you want to watch the match for yourself. Zelina looked fantastic in her in-ring gear, and she works really well. I literally wrote in my notes, Zelina deserves more because she's a better wrestler than Liv. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to y'all, but she does wrestle so much better for the time that she gets. So they start off the match, and Vega is on top, and then Dom overpowers Ray with a bunch of kicks, and then Ray and Zelina end up double teaming, and then Liv attacks Zelina. Dom ends up falling into an awkward position with Liv Morgan. Shocker at this point. We come back from the commercial break, and Dom and Ray are in the match, and they are just beating the hell out of each other, basically. Zelina comes in hot, and we have a whole lot of "we want MAMI" chants. Liv hits the three amigos, and Ray's fired up. Dom takes over, and we have a double 619, and then Zelina ends up hitting a 619 onto Liv. Liv ends up sending a chair into the ring, and then we see there's a moment where Ray's setting up a top rope move with him and Dom, and then Liv ends up attacking him. Dom capitalizes and hits the frog splash to secure the win. And when they're celebrating in the ring, there's a moment where it looks like they're about to kiss or, I don't know, potentially have sex or something in the middle of the ring, which, like I say, I don't like mixing that kind of thing with my wrestling. I just want to keep it PG, anyway. And Rhea Ripley returned, which is fantastic, and I literally wrote in my notes in capital letters, and I'm gonna have to censor this when I say it, Rhea Ripley returns. Thank because literally I am so in the trenches without my girl Rhea, and honestly, the fact that MAMI has returned and the fact that MAMI has come back to sort the out, I'm actually so excited. Because this means that the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour is going to be hopefully done soon. And I don't really care if you guys say all of this cool stuff about Liv Morgan. She's done nothing for me, and I just really want to see MAMI come back, beat the shit out of her. Courtney, you're going to have to go and censor a whole lot of this, so just warning yourself here. She beats the crap out of her and takes the title back. I just want my MAMI on top. I'm so sick of this. This Judgment Day storyline, I'm not going to lie to you, has actually not been it for me. Just because of the over-sexualization of everything. We do not need this. It just does not need to happen. And that brings us to the end of the Monday Night Raw review for this week. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and show us that you did by liking the video. While you're there as well too, you should go ahead and comment something that you enjoyed about Monday Night Raw this week, as well as subscribing to the channel and turning on the bell icon that is next to the subscribe button. When you do that, you will be notified every time we drop a new review for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, or NXT, and you'll also be notified every single time we go live for a podcast or when we have gone live for a podcast. That way you will not miss any of our content. But if you don't want to miss anything else that we're posting, go ahead and check out the description. You can find all the links to where you can find Outcasted OC on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as all of our personal social medias, so you can keep up to date with what we're doing when we're not posting on the channel. As always, you've got your regularly scheduled NXT review coming in from Reese this week. Now it's post-Heatwave, so I feel like there's going to be some real cool stuff going down. The podcast this week, we're going to be talking all things Money in the Bank, and obviously talking about all things going into SummerSlam, where we see that going, as well as the SmackDown review that will be coming in later on this week. I'll leave you guys alone now because I've been talking for way too long, but I'll see you guys in the podcast later on this week. Bye, guys.